Some of the biggest tenets of color grading, in my opinion, are contrast, saturation, and hue, in addition to localization. Contrast is your overall feel of the image. Changing the contrast will change how your viewers feel. A high contrast piece could be like a war scene or some kind of boxing match or something where you really want to amp up the drama. You want to make the audience feel like they're missing some details. And it really does have an effect on how people feel. Saturation, in my opinion, is sort of next in line because contrast does affect saturation. If you go up or down in a tone, in a value scale, in terms of like you have black at the bottom, white at the top, and all the steps in between, as you go towards the middle, you gain more saturation. So adjusting the contrast does in turn affect the saturation, and it does affect the color, which is pretty interesting. But saturation is also another tool for changing how people feel. You can desaturate an image and see, people will feel like something's missing. You can oversaturate it and have a dreamy scene. Can't oversaturate it too much or you start losing information, but that's where I feel like saturation sits. And then hue is the next piece, because you can, as a colorist, really go in and change the hue of your image. You can go in and change the color of a wall. You can take all gray walls and make them white. You can take all gray walls and make them yellow. You can do a lot. So hue is really more of like, in my opinion, sort of a corrective approach. You can change the colors to look the way they're supposed to look or the way you want, or you can use it creatively to make them look the way you want them to look, in addition to the other tools of saturation and contrast. Localization to me is a big deal as well, because that is really your biggest tool as a colorist. You can do the overarching broad grade, but then you want to go in and really use power windows or a keying where you pick one color and you adjust one color, or you pick one tonal value and you adjust that value. And then you can use windows or masks to get in there and really fine tune what is changing. So localization is a huge tool and it's so important. So that's why I'd put that in there as well. Those are the biggest tenets of color grading, according to me.